the band.
Hi, I'm Peter Albin. I'm the bass player in Big Brother and the Holding Company.
I'm Sam Andrew. I play guitar and piano and sing. Mostly guitar, though. Actually, mostly sing in Big Brother and the Holding Company.
I'm Dave Getz. I'm the drummer in Big Brother and the Holding Company.
Great. Sam, please tell us how the group all came together. What was the common thread? What really excited you guys about playing music together?
I will tell you that, but if you had 3 hours, I would have Peter tell you that. But Peter and I met and basically met up, and then we decided to do a band, and we played together for almost a year. Maybe it was between 6 and 9 months, and Dave Getz came into the band. We had another drummer, and then we had a manager who was Texan, and he had gone to school in Austin, Texas with Janis Joplin, and he told Peter and me that we didn't know how to sing and that he was going to find someone who really did. And so that's where it came from. And then he brought Janis, and she came in and sang, and she was great from no one. She was a folk singer, you know, coffee house singer, and she had a big wide open voice. So it took her about a year to learn how to sing with an electric band, but
Yeah. So you saw the whole evolution take place of her coming from the Texas and the coffee house to what
It was
she
an
became.
easy evolution because she sang a lot of blues, and she sang very loudly. A lot of places that I saw her sing at, she didn't need a microphone.
right.
She knew a lot of the roots type material that even some of which, or types of songs that we had already been playing. Down on Me was one of our songs that I sang, and she rewrote some of the words, added some lyrics, and she sang lead on that song. She brought in some old blues songs that she had done in her repertoire. A song called Women as Losers was one of her songs that she brought in. And Turtle Blues, a song that she wrote, was probably a little bit later, but it was that same type of thing. Country blues, folk blues. Right.
Let's talk about some of the early shows, you know, some of the development of getting these songs out there and feeling the excitement, you know, the feedback from the fans and then eventually the industry.
Well, the first shows that I played with the band were at the Matrix, a club that was a small club in San Francisco. And I remember it just was very exciting. The energy was fantastic. And this was before Janis. When Janis first came with the band, we started to do shows, and we were almost like the house band at a place called the Avalon, which was a family dog, a group of people, and mainly a guy named Chet Helms, who was also our manager. And so we played there a lot, and we played this club, the Matrix, a lot. We played mostly in San Francisco. We really didn't begin to travel until about a year later. We stayed around San Francisco in the Bay Area, San Jose, and it was a very exciting time. It was, you know, we really had a following, a hardcore following of people who were friends of ours who came to everything, and we played a lot. In 1966 and 67, I think we played over 250 times in about a year and a half. So we were playing like sometimes 3-4 times a week. And it was just a very exciting time. The energy was fantastic, and the energy of the audience was fantastic. Everybody really felt there was something going on. There was something really, some kind of new consciousness really emerging in that culture, that subculture of San Francisco that was really affecting the whole world. And we were right at the, you know, the crest of it at that time.
Sure. Sam, talk about a little about being at the epicenter of that, the change, the free spirit. Obviously, you know, drugs are involved, but there's a consciousness, and there's kind of people exploring, you know, new things. And obviously musically, you're in there with the Jefferson Airplane and eventually the Grateful Dead and all that. Talk about some of your greatest memories of that camaraderie, you know, between the artists and, you know, the free spirit.
Well, I went to University of San Francisco. It's a Jesuit school in 1960, and it was up the hill from the Haight-Ashbury, and my first apartment was at 251 Ashbury. It was on the Panhandle, just north. the Haight-Ashbury in those days, this is 1960 to 64 or 5, was a Russian Irish neighborhood, very quiet, working class people, but a lot of people moved in there because a lot of them went to San Francisco State and even from UC Berkeley, where I went later to graduate school. A lot of students moved in there, so it was ready for that. So we started feeling that new thing about the time I got together with Peter, maybe 1964, 65. I got together with him in 65, but 64, you could already feel it changing from it went from a folk song thing into a folk blues thing, where we became real interested in Mississippi John Hurt and Gary Davis and Booker White and a lot of people like that. And then from there, it merged into a rock and roll thing. So now it's around 1966, and then in 1967 they dubbed that the Summer of Love, a title that we all kind of hated. You know, it was stupid. You know, and they were selling Love Burgers on Haight Street, and you know, it was kind of already turning
Commercialized.
into a parody of itself. And by
It took
68,
something that was organic and kind of put a label on it.
Yeah, and then it's. Right, exactly. As soon as it became accepted nationwide, it was kind of over. You know,
It peaked.
Then it was over. You know?
Yeah.
And but that's when we all signed contracts and we became specialized, and you know, we became specialized as musicians. It used to be everybody in the whole club was the musician. You know, everybody was the same, and then we were singled out by 1968. So it changed.
Yeah.
There was a lot of fraternizing between the bands. Everybody, almost everybody knew each other, because a lot of the musicians came from the folk scene, like Sam said. Paul Kantner was in a band called Paul and Rand. Jerry Garcia and Pigpen were in this Mother McCree's Uptown Jug Stompers, or whatever it was, kind of a jug band. David Nelson, who later was in New Riders of the Purple Sage, was in a bluegrass band. Marty Ballin was in a group called the
Town Criers.
Town Criers, and God, there was a bunch of other people too that were all in.
David Freiberg.
David Freiberg was David and McKella was a duo that he had. Chester Powers.
There was also
Dino
the
Melendi.
artist, where I was at the San Francisco Art Institute. There was also something happening. There was a band, the Mystery Trend, which was really one of the first bands in that San Francisco scene, and it was started by a guy named Ron Nagel, who was a phenomenal, world-class ceramicist and sculptor, but also composer, producer, musician, and he started a band called the Mystery Trend at the Art Institute. John Luby, who was the drummer, was at the Art Institute. A couple of the other people were, and so the scene was happening all over the underground in San Francisco, and it really was an underground. And like Sam's saying, at some point it started to become co-opted. Like everything else, things are started by artists, bohemians, underground people who are looking for neighborhoods where the rents are cheap, where they can do what they do and be free and create music, create art. And they find these places, and then of course, after they find them, these places become trendy and boutiques begin to open up and the rents go up, and that's kind of essentially what happened with the whole scene. But in the early 60s, probably 64, from the free speech movement on probably through the early part of 67, it was really like there was a close-knit thing between the artists, the musicians, the people who were really part of that kind of cultural underground.
Sure. Talk about the evolution of Janis. He and her, again, come from Texas, and this folk singer into the belter. I mean, that was obviously
Right.
inside of her,
Yeah.
but just watching the evolution of
Well,
the
when I
art.
first saw her, met her, it was probably 1963. It was at a radio studio, KPFA. It was a program called, the Midnight Special. And it was around circle of musicians with one big microphone in the middle, and I was sitting next to this girl here who was wearing a loose knit white man's shirt, and no bra, which was, I was startled as a 17-year-old kid. And then she's opened her mouth and playing guitar and started singing, and she was very loud, and of course it turned out to be Janis. But there's other people like Janet Smith and the Chambers brothers were also there. It was quite a scene. But anyway, I heard her style, and I remember her style at that time. It was big body, brassy. She had a little bit of, what do you call glottal stop, a little bit of raspiness in her voice. Mm-hmm. And she continued that sort of singing at some of the coffee shops that I saw her at. She was supposed to be at my brother's San Francisco State Folk Music Festival. And we went and saw her, to kind of audition her kind of thing at the Coffee Gallery on Grand Avenue. And she was still doing that same type of thing. When she joined the band, and then her voice started changing. Number one, we were a loud band. We were probably like 120 dBs, and she had to kind of like fight with the volume that we had. Mm-hmm. And so she developed actually a more, what would you call it?
Screaming style.
Screaming style. Mm-hmm. Yeah. She hollered, and yelled and screamed, above us, to get above us. But there were some certain songs that we would do that were lower in volume, mm-hmm. and she had a beautiful voice. I tell this story once in a while that we were living all together at a house in Lagunitas, California. It was a kind of communal situation for 6 months. Mm-hmm. And I used to go to bed early with my wife and my 2-month-old daughter. And we were upstairs in this room, and it was very paper-thin walls, and I tried to get everybody to stop doing things around 10 o'clock at night. Good luck, So someone was playing downstairs, the record player, Joan Baez's record, really loud, something of sorrow. I can't remember the names of the song. Anyway, and I got pissed off. So I get out, I open the door, I go walking downstairs, turn the fucking record player off, and it's Janis singing. So she could sing that style.
Mm. Yeah, she could.
Yeah. Talk about, behind the scenes, the making of some of your, your biggest, most memorable songs. Any stories about how the song came together, or the recording, or, how those were made?
Well, the same place Peter's talking about in Lagunitas, California, we started rehearsing. So we began a lot of those songs that wound up on Cheap Thrills there. Mm-hmm. There was a song, Ball and Chain, which might be the best known song on that album, or Piece of My Heart. But Ball and Chain was done, we did it live in Detroit. Mm-hmm. The whole album was supposed to be live. Mm-hmm. But it was a construct, it was an artifact, made by John Simon, who produced us. But that one track is live from the Grandie Ballroom in Detroit, and then the rest of the album is kind of cobbled together. But we started putting a lot of those songs together in Lagunitas, California, and song like "I Need a Man to Love." Janis and I wrote that tune really quickly. I came up with the riff and in a backstage in Cleveland, Ohio, and we put that song together really fast. Peter wrote "Oh Sweet Mary." It's a song we did from Cuckoo, which was an old folk song from folk days, probably one of the oldest, if not the oldest songs in the English language. And we adapted that, and that became "Oh Sweet Mary." So there were all these songs happen in pieces usually. Sometimes they'll all come to you at one time, immediately. But that's rare. Usually they're done in pieces, and it happens over a period of time, and a lot of collaboration and arrangement is needed.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes songs are developed in the studio. Mm-hmm. We worked out of CBS studio in New York and one also in Los Angeles. And we would fine-tune things. One of the stories that James Gurley tells a lot, or used to tell, was about Turtle Blues, which was recorded in the LA studio, Columbia. And it was a song that was mostly a kind of an acoustic kind of thing. So it was kind of simple. It was just piano, guitar, and voice. And everybody thought it needed some background, so they went to Barney's Beanery with a tape recorder and tried to get sounds from that. So things like that happened, you know.
Yeah, it was a 12-bar blues. It was real simple, Turtle Blues, but James and I went to Barney's Beanery and recorded, and then Bobby Newworth broke a tequila bottle
Howie
and a
Hessler
trash
was there.
can, you know, and so it was this, all of these little pieces.
Right, right. And other songs too. You know, when you're in the studio, you can do all these kinds of overdubs and stuff. We actually tried to record the songs live in the studio. For example, Summertime was done with the band playing behind Janis in the same room. She wasn't in an isolated booth. So
Yeah.
we tried to keep
That
it
was
live.
pretty successful, wasn't it? Yeah.
Sure.
Well, Piece of My Heart was a song that had been recorded by Aretha Franklin's sister, Irma Franklin. And it was a very laid-back, kind of slow, very soulful version of the song. And the bass player with the Jefferson Airplane at that time, Jack Cassidy, brought the song to us and suggested, actually, that we do this song, that we could do this song and that it would work for us. And we adapted it, and it just changed completely from what it was. And it became a very kind of rock, almost like a rock classic. I think it's probably our most well-known piece that still gets played today. But it's very, you know, rock. Sam put a riff on the front. I changed the beat. The bass part changed. Janis sang it a whole different way. Everything really changed about it, and almost unconsciously, because it was the way we played. It was just the way we heard the song. We didn't have to really say, you know, we're going to not do it this way. We couldn't do it that way. It was that kind of a thing. The thing also that happened with Summertime was interesting, because when we were recording Cheap Thrills, we played Summertime a certain way, and we actually had played Summertime even before Janis joined the band. We used to do that. And when we were doing it, something happened. There were certain parts that we saw could kind of come together, and a suggestion was made for an edit of placing something, taking something out, and putting two things together so that one thing really came right into something else. And when we heard that, we said, well, you know, we're going to just play it that way from that point on. So things sometimes happen in the studio like that, where you get an idea and then it's incorporated into the performance. And things, you know, just evolve in a very organic kind of way.
Sure. Well, you know, we know that Janis left us way too early. There was more music, obviously, you know, to be had, and every female singer since her that belts a little gets compared to her. How does that feel to be part of that legacy that you guys, you know, lived? That, you know, she was obviously an icon, and, you know, the music lives on, and, you know, people want to hear about it and hear these music.
Well, it feels wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, we're very privileged. We're very lucky to have had Janis as a singer. You know, she was, to this day, I still, you know, actually, you know, when I hear her now, you know, I appreciate what she was doing better than I did then, you know, because then it was such chaos. There was so much going on, but now I can stop and hear Janis, and it was amazing to be, you know, part of what she was doing. She was really gifted and very talented, you know, way beyond what we knew at the time, I think. And, you know, when I first started playing guitar and people would see me walking down the street and playing the guitar, which I did a lot, and they go, hey, it's Elvis Presley, you know. And then like 10 years later, it was like, hey, it's the Beatles, you know. So every singer now who has a strong voice, doesn't matter if she sounds like Janis or not, you know, the reflex is to go, hey, it's Janis Joplin. You
Yeah,
know, that's
Joplin-esque.
Yeah.
But it's great for us to be associated with someone who was maybe impetus of some of the feminist movement, which I think Janis was. Here's someone who didn't have the greatest looks, didn't have the greatest hair, you know, didn't have the greatest body, but she had some sort of persona that was desired by a lot of those people who kind of looked like her. People, and they came out of, I don't want to say the closet, but they came out and said, if this person can do it, I can do it. So I think we all feel proud that we're part of that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to say something.
sure.
You know, all the thing you're saying, Sam, I wouldn't disagree with it. Janis had a persona, and she developed her persona in the context of Big Brother and the Holding Company. Big Brother and the Holding Company, as a band, had a persona also. I could see that persona because I joined the band after it already existed. And in some way, that persona already existed for Big Brother in a way that was different than something like the Jefferson Airplane or the Grateful Dead or the Great Society or any of these other bands. Big Brother had its own persona. It's hard for me to describe what it was, but I fit into it. I knew that I could fit into it and be part of it. And so we had that. And when Janis joined, she was very much a part of the Big Brother persona in the sense that we were kind of freaky and we did freaky things and we had a lot of kind of a range of different kinds of material. As the band developed, the persona of Big Brother and Holding Company separated, and Janis developed almost like her own persona, where she became like a rock icon. And everybody, when you talk about Janis nowadays, everybody knows what you're talking about. But I just want to sort of state that from my point of view, Big Brother also had a very, very specific and unique persona as a band.
Sure. And in closing, what advice would you give to a young musician or artist today? What should they be concentrating on to find their own style and have any kind of chance of longevity?
Listen to as much as they can listen to. That's what I tell them.
Absorb.
Absorb, yeah. And not only stuff from, current stuff, but
Yeah.
go back, listen to something, because you don't want to repeat.
Listen to who your favorites guys
Right,
were
yeah.
coming up on.
Yeah. There's lots of great stuff out there. I mean, I'm talking about like from even Caruso, on up to Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
For that.
Build some roots.
I went onto a website one time and about Al Bowley. I don't know if you know who Al Bowley is. He's a crooner during the 30s from England. And there was like all these comments by people who had never heard him before. He was obvious people in their 30s or 40s and said, wow, this guy can really sing. I said, people got to do your homework. If you want to be part of the music scene, you really have to listen to all these wonderful people that came before us.
Yeah, but I'd like to add to that what a lot of people forget, is that music is a business, and it's something you have to, every day you have to play it a lot. All you have to do is compare it to making a bar of soap, Every day you have to try to make the best bar of soap you can, but you have to sell it, You can make the best bar of soap you want to, and if you just keep it, in your basement or something.
Nobody knows about it.
Nobody knows about it. It could be like the most beautiful bar of soap ever made, but you have to get out there and make phone calls and interact with people and go jam, and you have to work at it like a job. You have to make it like a job and
Sure.
and make it work. You have to take care of the business side and the music side. It's very difficult. It's just
Yeah.
two different parts of the brain.
And you got to love it. You got to do what you love, not just for the sake of
Absolutely.
making
I
money.
would say, in my opinion, you can make bars of soap. If you love making bars of soap that much, some people don't care if they ever sell the bars of soap. They just love making them so much. There's a certain, we could get into a whole aesthetic discussion about, what art is and everything like that. But the thing about Janis and singing that I would just add is that she had a gift, as everyone has said here. But that gift, what makes a singer really, really special is having a voice that expresses feeling. There are a lot of great singers, and someone can learn to become a very competent, good singer, where you can hit all the notes and have perfect, really good pitch and all of that. But there's something that is given that you're born with, and Janis had that. All of the great singers, the Edith Piafs and whatever you wanted, the Aretha Franklins, all have this one gift that sort of, it's like a voice that is really expressive, just a very, very expressive voice. And Janis had it in spades. She just, had such an expressive voice, and that was her gift. She also learned how to use it, and also in the context of Big Brother, from the time she joined until the time she died, she really got better. She really learned how to sing. She really worked at it. She was very serious at her craft in terms of learning how to sing and listening to other singers and saying, I'm going to do that, and stealing ideas and taking ideas. She was very, very serious about her craft as a singer, and yet also she had this incredible gift of an expressive, really expressive